Hey everybody, in this video I want to talk about Vine Press and a dream I had about the ceremony. Okay, let's go into my dream and then I'm going to talk about the Vine Press. So my dream was we were in church and usually I do not go to church. Okay, when I see myself in church, usually this is talking about the ceremony and the church of Jesus being the priest. He's known to be King of Kings, Lords of Lords, okay? So he's the high priest. He's a priest of all priests. Okay, so just like church, there's like two groups. One on the right, the one on the left, right? And somehow I was the one on, looking at the church. I was sitting on the left. Like I told you, in previous dream, there was two door represents, and I didn't know which door to go in. Okay, and so I had to ask God. Like right before I woke up, I had to pick a door. Both of the doors look exactly the same. One on the left, one on the right. I was like, which door I go? You would only think the right door is the right door to go in, but no, it's always the left door. Remember, facing God. Jesus facing you, he said he will set the sheep on his right. So his right is our left. So we were sitting on the left, right? And there, it was set up as ranks or qualities. Okay, quality of souls, ranks in order, from the best ones to the not so good ones. So from the red robes to the white robes, right? There was a group up here, but there was a group of girls that was ahead of me, right? They were called to be preacher, okay? Somehow they gone into this dancing ceremony, they were leaving their station, so to speak. They were leaving their spot. And all I noticed, they had a bunch of lip gloss, makeup, heavy eye makeup. Okay, they left out of that. There's row and row and row, right? So the first few row, the people still sitting there. The second row was about 12. I don't know how many people that was, and these were particular. Each and every one of them, I noticed. Makeup, lipstick. They lost their stand because of makeup. Okay. I know that I was shown that I was kings and priests. Okay, the red robes. So if they were ahead of me, they were called as a red robe, kings and priests, leaders. But because they did makeup, they lost their position. Okay. Now they were damned altogether. They were not fit to be leaders, because with leaders that you have to be more responsible, more holy to lead your congregation, right? So they left down and sat on the back. Okay, they were still saved, but they were not getting that position, that high position as kings and priests, red robes, because of makeup. Okay, and I've told you this, okay? I stripped out makeup and nails a long time ago. My hella making job, doing nails and all that, right? And that was a count. I was still sitting in my spot because I do not do makeup anymore, okay? So I did not lose my position, okay? But they did. Though they were still saved. But that's why God says, okay, you practice what you preach. So if you're wearing makeup, you're not going to preach on holiness, because that's contamination to God, right? That's one thing, the very first thing God brought to me was, it's not okay to do makeup and dyeing your hair and tattoo and all that, right? So they left in the back as if they went and have spouse. Like their makeup was to attract a spouse. And anybody that was in the back had spouse. Okay, had spouse, has like husband and wife, as if they could not detach themselves from the sexual immorality. I call it witchcraft. Like there's still, a group that's though they're saved, but they still haven't detached from the things of this world yet, so to speak, right? So they sat in the back, even though they were saved, right? They were like the last. That's why God says, if you teach people holy, you be great. And it reminded me of that scripture. If you teach man sin, if you're doing makeup, you're going to more likely teach them that makeup is okay. Okay? So and you're not going to be against it because you are doing makeup yourself, right? So they were, them and their spouse, okay? I knew all the ones that were in the back had like husband and wife, okay? So I knew these particular groups, okay? There's 3 groups. Kings and okay, so there's red robe, white robes, and a bunch of ones that in the back, okay? Those are the ones that that we're going to teach, okay? And they're going to be here in the millennium with Christ, because they're still having to work on, you know, themselves about, you know, detaching. And my mom was among those group. And somehow she's like, oh my God, I won the lottery. Okay, she saw a dream of her wanting the lottery. I saw a dream of her winning the lottery. And I won the lottery too. Okay, winning the lottery is to come up where I'm sitting as kings and priests. The red robe or the white robe, right? So elevate yourself, right? And whether she knew that she won. I knew that she won. And I told her, Mom, this is spiritual lottery. It's not a physical lottery, okay? I saw myself winning the lottery too. And I went and buy some lottery ticket. I did not win. So this is talking about spiritual lottery. Because there's a way, only few that make it. Okay? And in the red robe, it's even fewer people in red robes, right? In the white robes or red robes, right? As higher as you go, the less of those people. Because, it's, you know, not much people are willing to score high with God, right? And so, you know, she's called to go up there. Like, you know, you're understanding it. You're able to do it. Are you going to go up here and sit with the people in the front row? Because there was once those girls left, there was a gap that still need to be filled with people, right? So God is going to call certain people from. Okay, so the ones that are on the right, people that have not, I believe, that are going to be, you know, the wise and the foolish, right? So the foolish, you know, if they go through beheading, then they're going to come over here, and the ones that God's going to pick on the bottom will push everybody upward, right? Everybody's going to go upward and fill up all the seats, okay? And God is going to rearrange the order of the quality of souls, okay? And it, you know, you can, just like how you know, people grade an egg by its volume, its quality, its content. Same thing with souls. That's how God grades them, by your acts, by your work, by your performance here on earth, right? And so I understand that those people weren't condemned, but they lost the positions of kings and priests, leaders, because they were not fitted to be leaders because of their makeup knowing, okay? And I saw a good amount of them that was in front of me. And one of the guy in the back insulted me by saying, you know, as if he thought that I was going to follow them into that group by saying, you know, you are a petty or whatever, you're just like the rest of us, you know, and we're just accepting you, something like that. And he was basically judging me out of context because he didn't know, because remember, I used to do nails. I've forsaken that job, and it's still in my mind to want to go back to doing nails. But ultimately, I sat at my station, okay, and I waited on the Lord, and I never went back into doing nails, right? And so I didn't lose my position as kings and priests, right? And so, I was laying there, and I was laying back, and I was thinking, I'm like, hey, you know, I gave up all nails and blah blah blah, and I backfired at him by saying a false statement, and I'm still here, up here sitting, and I have not left my post, and I'm still good, okay? You down there, my friend, okay, be talking smack, okay, and judge me out accordingly, okay? Because Like I said, the devil is really going me hard, trying to get me to do nails again, makeup. Like I'm saying, I might not lose heaven, but I might lose my kings and priests authority, so to speak, the red robe, and I might become then the white robe, right? Or tribulation saints. So because I did left my post, I was able to backfire it at him, and so that was my dream. Okay, so yeah, while you might not be condemned, you will risk losing your position, your post, and you might be risking yourself being tribulation saints. Okay, that's all I took of that dream. Okay, and then the dream of the vine press. Okay, no, not the dream, but the message of the vine press. Okay, God was telling me, narrow is the way that leads to life, only few. Okay, before it's a few, now it's few. Why the mark of the beast system? The mark of the beast system is the vine press, because people in the past already died, and their judgment was already passed at the point of death. Okay, we are not dead yet. We still have a choice to change our mind to serve God. See, but because this is the end, this is the cut point. Okay, this is the cut point, that the filtration, and that's where God says, I come to separate what? The sheep and the goats. Okay, by the AI mark of the beast system to enforce people. You're either gonna die for Christ, or you're gonna die because you missed out on the rapture. You're gonna either die for Christ, okay, bloodshed, right? You're gonna die for God through beheadings, or die in your sin. Okay, because they're not dead yet. But God still, because God has come and He's going to usher in 1,000-year millennium, so everything has to be done and quickly, and it has to be separated, right? So when He comes down, that's why this whole thing is for His will, that His kingdom come. Okay, the separation is to divide the ones that will go, the ones that are going to get new bodies, they're going to get new bodies. Tribulation saints are the ones that are, the looky worm, once saved, always saved, run down doctrine, okay? Parable, I know you're not, a license to sin, okay? It's all the same thing, hypocrisy. Okay, these are the ones that are on the fence, okay? On the fence, those are the ones that is going under the divine press. If you have your new body, you're found worthy to escape. No weapon against me will prosper. You will be like an angel. And I explained this throughout my video of what the new incorruptible body, the escape, the seal was, okay? The ones that didn't get new bodies, okay? If you cut yourself, you still feel pain, you still have blood, you didn't get your new body. You're going to go under this. We always been under this test, okay? You did not found worthy to escape means you did not get your new incorruptible body. Ultimately still going under the test, okay? And then because God is going to vine press you to come up with a decision, because you were on the fence, the looky worm, 6 out of 7, right? And out of that vine press, 2 out of the okay, so 2 out of the 6 that was on the fence will actually, remember, narrows the way, that will accept Jesus and die because they have enough faith to go through with beheadings. Okay, the other ones are not prepared. They will take on the mark of the beast, and that's because we are still alive, and that's why the vine press, the mark of the beast, is set up so that people can ultimately come with a decision. Because if you die, the decision, God can seal the decision right away. But because you're alive, you can still, because remember, repentance can only be done while you're alive. Okay? Once you're dead, your last breath, okay, then there's no changing your mind. After your last breath, wherever your status is, that's it. You change your mind has to be prior to you dying. Okay, so there's no purgatory, you guys. Okay, so so that's why in this time, the mark of the beast. Okay, any given time when you're under this, you can call upon. Remember. Call upon me and you found worthy to escape. So when you're going through beheading, and these are for the tribulation saints, when you're going through beheading, call upon the Lord so he can take away the fear, so that you can go through beheadings. Or he will allow, he knows everybody. If he knows that you're not, there yet to go beheadings, he will hide you in certain places. Okay? But you have to call upon the Lord to find where they escape. If your faith is not there yet, you're going to fail by the test. Okay? You're just going to break down and take on the mark of the beast, because the test is so great. The pain is so great. Okay? That's why God says, whoever, believe in God, believe is to obey, right? We get the body that don't feel the sting of death. Okay, so they're still feeling the sting of death, which is pain. Okay, sin results to pain. Hunger and thirst is a form of pain. Okay, I was trying to get people to understand. Hell is pain. Fire is pain. And in there, you're gonna be hungry and thirst. Just right now, you don't appreciate being hungry and thirst. That's a form of pain. That's why the reason why you eat, because you don't appreciate the sting of death. That's what hell has to offer. That's what sin has to offer. That's what breaking the law has to offer. And God only promised to the ones who overcome, which is holiness, practicing holiness. So it ain't once saved, always saved, y'all. Okay, these church are deceiving you. Okay, a lot of them are deceived. Check out my video. I was talking about that delusion of the once saved, always saved. They think they're saved, but in reality, they're effed in the head. That's why it's called delusion, thinking they're saved, but they're not. Okay, I can say that I'm saved because I see confirmation. I asked God. I see confirmation that I was gonna make it. I see Jesus, and I'm always on His right. Okay, so I know that I will make it. I've asked God in advance. Okay, God will not speak to a lot of you because a lot of you is not good. Okay, a lot of you is not doing the checkpoint yet. You're not in yet. Because of what? You're bought in the deception of the once saved, always saved. That's why a lot of you are not hearing from God, getting anything from God. Okay, I'm not saying that but there shouldn't be a reason why God is not talking to you, because He talks to me almost like every day, every other day, right? So there shouldn't be a reason why I'm a normal person. How I can, you can too. You just need to exercise the word, okay? The word in the Bible, okay? And you need to call upon Jesus, because you can't do it by yourself, okay? That's why God said with man it's impossible, but with God everything's possible. So as you're going through the tests, the flesh and the blood, you got to call upon Him. Ask Him that you able to make the checkpoint. Okay? The qualification. Meet the qualification. Okay, so that is what the vine press is, okay? That He's ultimately setting this up so that you can stop being on the fence, looky worm, once saved, always saved, okay? And you'll know that everything I said is true. When things start happening and you don't get your new body, remember, it's always been narrow. They don't need a mark of the beast system to let you know it's narrow, okay? Since the beginning, it's always been narrow, even until now. The reason why, remember, like I said, we are still alive, and God cannot judge us quite yet, because we're still breathing, okay? But once the thing is, because it's the end, after you see the rapture, you can't continue to be delusional. Okay, I'm talking about the one that got left behind, didn't get their new body. Okay, you have to understand, if you didn't get your new body, you cannot continue to be delusional, think it's once saved, always saved, because you missed out on the cut. Okay, you're gonna have to go through beheading. You have to realize it wasn't not once saved, always saved, and you truly was on the fence, and now beheading was your path. Okay, if you get left behind, okay, I'm talking to the ones that once saved, always saved believer. Once things happen and you don't get your new body, remember your teaching was false. Whoever you heard was false. That's why it conditioned you to get left behind and not get your new body. Okay, once you see stuff, you cannot continue to be delusional, because I was talking about the three group. God said, "Blessed ye were, blessed to you, you seen and you believe. Okay, these are the disciples. God says, blessed to those that didn't see, that believe, which is us. And God is cursing the ones, these are the delusional ones, okay? You see my miracle, yet you don't believe, okay? These will be the delusional, okay, part of the sixth church, okay? 4 of them, okay, I will say 3 or whatever. 4 of them are delusional, okay? And or 2 to 3, out of the ones that, so this is the 6 that got left, right? So one gone through hidings, the other one gone through beheadings. So these 2 are on safe. But these ones, whether it's 2 or 3 of them are delusional. The one or the 2 cannot handle it. They know that they weren't delusional, but they couldn't take the test, so they took on the mark. The other 2 will be the delusional, that third group that I was talking about, the delusion. You see the rapture, yet you still don't believe. Okay? This will be part of that group that are delusional. Okay? Means once things are happening, a lot of them are going to be in denial. It's like, hey, the rapture couldn't happen. I'm still here. A lot of them are going to say this, okay? And they're still in this delusion, thinking they're saved, but they don't realize that, they're not, they weren't good in the first place. You know what I mean? So I need you guys to snap out of your delusional. Once people, kids, or whatever disappear, and you're still here feeling pain, go burn yourself, see if you feel pain, and cut yourself if there's still blood. That means you still got the corruptible body, because you never overcome flesh and blood. Sins and work you should be doing, right? Sins you shouldn't be doing, works you should be doing. Okay, so it's not once saved, always saved. So you could, at that time, is awakening. Okay, awakening to your delusional. Okay, but for the ones that are tied down to the delusional, if they don't receive this message, they're still going to be delusional and take on the mark of the beast. They perish for lack of knowledge and wisdom. And not because they perish, they refuse to believe, which is faith, right? They don't have that faith. Faith is going to be very crucial in the time of the great tribulation, okay? When it talks about, when you see rumors of wars or whatever, right? The end is not yet, okay? It only is the beginning of sorrow. Remember how I was saying the beginning, the rapture, the beginning of the end. Okay, nobody had to say the end had to be within 1 hour, 1 day, 1 year. It was 7 years, right? So, beginning of sorrow is the beginning of the end. Okay, that's why it talks about 3.5, right? And so, I saw a dream that I was going back. I was going to come back to Earth after 3 years, and I was like, well, hold up. I thought God was going to cut time short to 3 years, but no, I think it's actually 7 years. But remember, I was talking about the locust for 5 months. That's the half of the year, which is the 5 months. Okay, so that's why I'm like, oh, I get it because I did see, I prophesy we'll still be here for a good 5 months, right, in the spirit with a new incorruptible body, showing people our new body so they can wake up and not be delusional. Okay, so what happened is, I'm like, oh, after the 5 months, we'll still see some stuff going through the storm, but with our new incorruptible body, that's how we're going to be protected, right? We're going to be in the spirit. Okay, I saw evil people. I saw soldiers. Once they chased me, I was in the spirit. And I was still there, but my hand kind of went across them. They couldn't take a hold of me. Okay, that's our new body. That's how God's going to protect us through the storm. We're going to get to see some stuff. Okay, so I saw the flood. I was asking God, I know there's, you was telling me in my other dream there's going to be a flood. Should I move, Lord? Like, I was asking God, should I move? And God's like, set your butt here. I will protect you where you're at. So the flood was outside, was like all the way half to my house, right? But inside it was dry. Water did not get in. And yeah, God is able to do that, okay? Just as Moses, he was able to split the sea. Okay, that's how he's going to split the water so the water don't get in your house. Okay, you have that much faith. When you have the new body, that shows you have faith. That's why you have the new body, right? And God is going to give you power to keep the flood away. So on and so forth, right? You're going to have some power. God's going to give you the power, okay? To the 2 witnesses, the red robes, right? Okay, so I saw that. So we're gonna be here after the changing. I thought it was gonna be 3 days, but I think after 3 days we're gonna get our new body, and then for 5 months we're gonna see some craziness, zombie apocalypse, everything I prophesied, right? Soldiers, wars, aliens, you name it. Okay, I saw this several times in my dream. We're chased by evil soldiers. I prayed upon Jesus, lest they get a hold of me and force me the mark of the beast. I shift in the spirit with my kids, and one other dream with my cousin, my niece, okay, in Iowa. And so we were there, and we were putting our hands through the evil humanoid, reptilian, Nephilim. Okay, these are grays. Okay, reptilian shapeshifters, demons. Okay, monsters, whatever you call them, right? I call them humanoids. They're not even human. They look like human, but they're not human. Okay, they're gonna be chasing you down, and once this changing, there will be a shift in the air. You can see. You can tell at the time of the rapture. I don't know if everybody have the ability, but I was able to see who was saved, who was not saved. It was a clear indication of who was saved. And how did I see? It was still them, but the vessel was empty, was full of darkness. They did not have the Holy Spirit, which is the light in them, right? So whether I'm able to reach them and give them the light, or are they screwed overall, that's one thing I'm still asking. I think once things starts happening, there will be a very clear indication of who's God's people and who's saved, who's not saved. And that's what I saw in dreams. These empty vessels of darkness. Okay, the number of man is the number of the beast. Okay, and if you don't have the Holy Spirit, you're 2/3. 0.666, right? 2/3. Okay, so man and beast is created on the 6th day. It's to say you and the beast, you are an animal without God, so to speak. That is what it's saying. Okay, without self-control. Animal is without self-control. Okay. Yeah. So that's it.